The royal space station of Aranthia gleamed like a jewel in the dark sky. Its polished metal towers reflected the soft blue light of the planet below, and countless ships moved gracefully through the docking bays. The people of Aranthia were proud of their achievements, advanced technology, brilliant scientists, and warriors who defended the kingdom from any threat. Yet, despite all their power, there were still mysteries that could shake even the most secure palace. Princess Leora walked down the grand corridor, her long silver-blue gown flowing behind her. Tonight was no ordinary night. A diplomatic gala was being held where representatives from distant worlds would meet the Aranthian royalty. Leora's father, the king, had died when she was young, leaving her under the care of the wise but strict Queen Maris, her mother. Leora had been trained not just in diplomacy, but also in survival, strategy, and the subtle art of reading people. Yet even she could not have predicted what was about to happen. The ballroom shimmered with light. Alien guests of all shapes and sizes mingled, speaking in tones that ranged from musical to harsh. Aranthian nobles moved through the crowd, offering polite bows and practiced smiles. Leora paused for a moment, observing the crowd, her eyes sharp and thoughtful. Scanned the room as if expecting something unusual, and then she saw him. At first, he seemed like a mistake, almost a trick of the lights. A man had appeared in the courtyard without warning. No one had seen him arrive. He was tall, strong, and completely human. Yet there was something about him that made people stop and stare. He wore simple clothes, but there was a quiet power in the way he carried himself. The palace guards froze. One of them whispered, "Who is that man?" The queen, always alert, was the first to notice. Her sharp eyes narrowed. "Guards."
"Oh, who is this?"
she demanded, her voice echoing across the marble hall. A guard stepped forward, unsure. "Your Majesty," he appeared outside the main gate. "We don't know who he is. He isn't on any registry." The queen's brow furrowed. "Bring him here," she ordered, her voice calm but full of authority. "I want to know who dares enter my palace without permission." The man did not resist. He walked through the corridors with steady steps, his gaze calm and confident. There was no fear, no hesitation. The guards whispered among themselves, amazed at his demeanor. Most would have tried to flee, but this man seemed entirely in control. When he reached the queen, he bowed slightly as if respecting her position, though he did not speak immediately. Queen Maris studied him carefully. "Who are you?" she asked, her tone sharp. The man looked at her, and then at the crowd of nobles and diplomats who had gathered behind. "I am Kale," he said simply. His voice was steady, quiet, yet it carried a weight that made people listen. A murmur ran through the hall. Who was this Kale? Where had he come from? Why did he appear out of nowhere? Before anyone could react, Leora stepped forward. Her silver-blue gown rustled softly. She smiled, a small but confident smile. "Mother," she said gently, "this is my husband." The words echoed through the hall. "Your husband," the queen repeated, her eyes narrowing. The court was silent, stunned. Leora's smile did not falter. She walked closer to Kale and took his hand. The crowd watched in amazement as the princess and the stranger stood together. Calm and unshaken, Queen Maris's eyes studied him again, more carefully this time. She could see the truth in Leora's eyes, the confidence, the certainty. "How? How do you know him?" she asked. Leora turned her gaze toward her mother. "We met on a mission, Mother. He is loyal, brave, and wise. I trust him with my life." The queen opened her mouth to speak, but no words came. The room buzzed with whispered questions. Ministers and guards looked at each other nervously. Whispers grew louder. Who is this man? How could the princess know him? Is he a spy? Kale did not seem bothered by the attention. He simply stood beside Leora, calm and composed. His eyes scanned the room, sharp and observant. There was something about him, an aura of strength that seemed natural, not learned. The palace guards stepped closer, their hands resting on their weapons. "Sir," one said cautiously, "we must verify your identity." Kale smiled slightly. "I have nothing to hide," he said. "Check anything you need. I will not interfere." One of the senior ministers whispered to the queen, "Mother, perhaps we should detain him until we are sure he is not a threat." Queen Maris shook her head slowly. Her daughter's eyes were unwavering, full of trust and certainty. Somehow she knew Leora was not mistaken. "We will investigate," she said, her voice firm. "But for now, he will remain under supervision, not imprisonment." Leora squeezed Kale's hand. "Thank you, Mother." The crowd slowly began to settle, though tension still lingered in the air. Diplomats and nobles exchanged nervous glances, unsure how to react to the sudden appearance of this stranger. Some were skeptical, others curious. But all were aware of the unusual situation. Later that night, when the gala had ended, Leora led Kale to a quiet balcony overlooking the stars. The city below was peaceful, a glittering reminder of the kingdom's achievements. "Why did you come here like that?" Leora asked, her voice gentle. Kale looked out at the stars. "I came because you called me," he said simply. "I have no desire to fight or cause trouble, but I will protect those I care for, and you are one of them." Leora smiled softly. "Then we understand each other," she said. She looked at him more closely, noticing the faint scars on his hands and the way his eyes held quiet determination.
Ow.
"I trusted you the moment I met you. And now the world must see the truth as well." Kale nodded. "The world is not always ready for truth," he said, "but sometimes courage can change that." Leora leaned closer. "Then let's be ready together. Whatever comes next, we will face it as one." Meanwhile, inside the palace, the queen sat quietly in her chambers. She stared at the stars beyond her window, thinking about the young man her daughter had called her husband. Who was he really? Where had he come from? And most importantly, could he truly be trusted? Unknown to them all, eyes from distant worlds were already watching. Reports of the stranger had reached alien civilizations that believed humans were weak and unremarkable. To them, Kale was an anomaly. It's an unpredictable variable in a universe where rules had always been clear. But Kale did not seek fame or power. He sought only to protect those he cared about and to show that humans could be more than the galaxy expected. And the first step toward that truth had already begun, as the palace settled into quiet night. The stars sparkled like scattered diamonds, and somewhere among them, the future of humanity waited to be written by the courage of one man and the wisdom of a princess who believed in him. The whispers in the court would not die easily, but for now, Leora and Kale stood side by side, ready to face whatever questions, doubts, or dangers came their way. The journey had begun. The morning sun cast a soft golden glow across the towers of the Royal Space Station. Leora awoke early, her mind restless. The events of the previous night played over and over in her thoughts, the whispers in the hall. The queen's sharp gaze and Kale standing calmly by her side as if he belonged there. He had arrived without warning, yet somehow he'd already earned her complete trust. Kale, meanwhile, moved quietly through the palace corridors. He did not boast, did not demand attention. But there was a confidence in the way he walked, a subtle assurance that he could handle whatever challenge came his way. Yet even he knew that the palace would not accept him easily. There were questions he could not yet answer, and secrets he could not yet reveal. Later that morning, Leora led him to a private chamber overlooking the city. The room was filled with soft light and the faint hum of machinery from the palace's advanced systems. Leora gestured for Kale to sit. "You must tell me your story," she said. "The court will not accept you unless they understand who you are." Kale nodded. "I will tell you, but first you must understand that my life has been different from theirs. I am not like the humans they know." Leora leaned forward, curiosity shining in her eyes. "I already know that. I have seen your abilities. But I want to understand the man behind them." Kale took a deep breath and began. "I come from a colony far beyond the known sectors. My people have survived for generations in harsh environments where technology is limited and resources are scarce. We learn to adapt, to use our minds and bodies in ways that most humans have forgotten. Over time, we developed abilities that combine intelligence, intuition, and physical skill. It is not magic. It is human potential at its highest." Leora listened intently. She had suspected that Kale's abilities were unusual, but hearing the story in his own words made the truth real. "So your people are different humans," she said. Yes, Kale replied, but we are still human. That is what makes us dangerous to those who underestimate us. We survive where others fail. We think where others act blindly. And we fight where others would surrender. Leora smiled softly. I understand why you impressed me, and why I trust you completely. But the court will not see it the same way. They will see a stranger, a threat. Kale's eyes were calm. Let them watch. Let them judge. What matters is that we are ready when the moment comes. Humans have always been underestimated, and yet we endure. That is our greatest strength. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime from the palace communication system. A messenger had arrived with urgent news. An alien delegation from the neighboring system of Tyran had requested an immediate audience with the Queen. They claimed it was a matter of diplomacy, but their tone carried a subtle warning. Queen Maris received the delegation in the main hall, with Kale and Leora present. The Tyran aliens were tall, slender, and pale-skinned, with eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light. Their leader, a sharp-eyed male named Zyron, spoke first. Queen Maris, he said, his voice calm but laced with tension, we have heard of a human who has appeared in your palace. One we do not recognize. We are concerned about the security of your realm and the potential threat this individual may pose. A murmur ran through the hall. Leora felt Kale's hand brush against hers, briefly a quiet reassurance. Kale is no threat, Leora said firmly, stepping forward. He is my husband, and he is a loyal protector of Aranthia. A husband? This is highly irregular. The humans we know are not capable of such influence over royal matters. We request proof of his abilities before any further trust is given. The Queen, sensing the growing tension, nodded. Very well. Kale will demonstrate his skills in a controlled environment. But understand this, he is not here to fight without reason. He is here to protect and to serve. Kale inclined his head respectfully. I will show what humans can achieve, not to boast, but to ensure peace. The demonstration was set in the palace training arena. A vast hall filled with advanced equipment and holographic simulations. The court watched as Kale entered, calm and composed. Zyron and his delegation observed closely, skeptical of what a human could possibly achieve against the high-tech challenges. Designed for elite warriors, the first test was agility. Kale moved through a series of rapidly shifting obstacles, reacting faster than the machinery could anticipate. The Tyran delegation gasped as he leaped, ducked, and balanced with precision, relying on intuition and human instinct rather than technology. Next came problem-solving. A complex simulation displayed multiple alien threats attacking in unpredictable patterns. Kale analyzed the situation, calculated probabilities, and issued commands that minimized damage while neutralizing the simulated enemies. The court and the alien delegation were silent, watching in disbelief as a single human outmaneuvered systems designed to challenge the brightest minds. Finally, Kale faced a combat scenario. Holographic opponents struck from every direction, faster and stronger than any ordinary human could endure. Yet Kale's movements were fluid, precise, and confident. He used the environment, exploiting weaknesses in the holographic projections with creativity and intuition. Each strike, each maneuver, showcased not brute force but strategy, courage, and adaptability. When the final simulation ended, the arena fell silent. Even the Tyran delegation, who had come to challenge him, could not hide their astonishment. Zyron finally spoke, his tone grudging but respectful. Your abilities are beyond what we expected. Humans have potential we have never witnessed. We will reconsider our position. Leora's heart swelled with pride. She had known Kale's abilities were extraordinary, but to see them recognized by alien leaders was a triumph. She glanced at him, and he gave her a small, reassuring smile. Later that evening, the Queen summoned Leora to her private chambers. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were thoughtful. I watched the demonstration, she said. I see now why you trust him. But Kale's presence will cause unrest. Some of our allies will question it, and some of our enemies will see it as a threat. Leora nodded. I understand. but he is the future. Not just for me, but for all of humanity. Kale shows what we are capable of, what humans can truly achieve. Queen Maris leaned back in her chair, a rare moment of vulnerability in her stern demeanor. Perhaps I underestimated your judgment. But remember this. Trust must be earned in the eyes of many, not just in the heart. Be careful, Leora smiled softly. I will. But I know Kale, and I believe in him. Meanwhile, Kale quietly trained in the palace gym, honing his skills even further. He was not arrogant, but disciplined. Every movement, every action was purposeful. He knew that soon the challenges would grow far beyond simulations. Real threats were coming: aliens, who saw humans as weak, systems that underestimated their ingenuity, and a galaxy that was not yet ready to acknowledge the potential of humanity. And yet Kale felt no fear. He had survived harsher worlds, fought against impossible odds, and learned to trust his instincts. With Leora by his side, he knew they could face anything together. That night, as the palace lights dimmed and the stars outside shone brightly, Leora and Kale stood on the balcony again. The city below was quiet, but the air was heavy with expectation. Do you ever fear them? Leora asked, her voice soft. Kale shook his head. Fear does not help us. Only action does. Humans have always survived because we adapt, because we think, because we refuse to surrender. That is what makes us strong, Leora smiled, feeling a surge of hope. Then let's show the galaxy what humans are truly capable of. Kale's gaze turned to the distant stars. Soon they will see. And when they do, humanity will no longer be underestimated. In the quiet of the palace, a new chapter was beginning. Kale had arrived as a stranger, yet he carried with him the promise of something greater, a chance to prove that humans, despite their flaws and limitations, could rise above any challenge. And Leora, the princess who had seen his potential from the start, knew that together they would change the course of history. The court whispered, the aliens observed, and the stars waited. The future of humanity was no longer hidden, it was ready to be revealed. Through courage, intelligence, and the unwavering bond of two extraordinary individuals. The following morning, the palace of Aranthia was unusually quiet. The events of the previous day had left whispers in every corridor. The Tyrant delegation, still recovering from Kale's display of skill, had agreed to remain in the palace under observation, while other visiting alien dignitaries speculated about the human who had so icily defied their expectations. Princess Leora awoke early, the soft hum of the station beneath her a constant reminder of the world she protected. Her thoughts, however, were not on her royal duties, but on Kale. She had seen him handle the simulations with ease. But now, the real challenge was about to begin. Today was the start of the Galactic Summit, a gathering of multiple alien civilizations. The summit's purpose was to discuss interstellar trade, alliances, and most importantly, the role of humans in galactic affairs. Many of the alien delegates still regarded humans as a minor species, insignificant in power and influence. As Leora walked through the corridors toward the summit hall, she noticed Kale standing silently near the training area, observing the palace defenses. His calm composure was a stark contrast to the tension building around them. You're ready, aren't you? Leora asked, falling into step beside him. Kale nodded. Ready is a choice. We cannot control their judgment, only our actions. Let them see what humans can do. The summit hall was immense, with walls of transparent alloy that offered a breathtaking view of the stars outside. Delegates from dozens of civilizations had gathered, their appearances and auras strikingly diverse. Some had translucent skin, others multiple limbs, and a few even levitated above the floor. Despite their differences, all eyes turned toward the humans. Leora took her place beside the queen, while Kale stood slightly apart, calm and unassuming. The tension was palpable. The first speaker, an alien ambassador named Vrith, addressed the assembly. Humans, Vrith said, his voice smooth and deliberate, are a young and untested species. Many of us have observed them. They show promise, but can they truly contribute to galactic stability? That is what we are here to discover. The room murmured in agreement. Some nodded. Others exchanged skeptical glances. Kale stepped forward, his presence quiet but commanding. I do not claim that humans are perfect, Kale said, his voice clear and confident. But I will show that we are capable, courageous, and creative. We may be underestimated, but that does not mean we are weak. A ripple of surprise passed through the assembly. No human had ever spoken at a galactic summit with such confidence, and Kale's calm demeanor only made the statement more powerful. The first challenge was announced. A diplomatic simulation designed to test problem-solving, adaptability, and leadership. Delegates were to work together to resolve a crisis on a simulated planet under threat from natural disasters and hostile forces. The humans, as expected, were given the smallest team. While more established civilizations were given larger teams and advanced resources, Kale's team consisted of himself, a young, Aranthian engineer named Jaren, and 2 other humans who had come from distant colonies. The aliens, confident in their superiority, barely acknowledged them as a serious threat. The simulation began. Holographic images of a planet under attack appeared before the teams. Storms raged, tectonic plates shifted, and alien raiders struck key cities. Many delegations hesitated, relying on technology to provide immediate solutions. Their actions were cautious, slow, and formulaic. Kale, however, immediately assessed the situation. We don't have the same resources as others, he said quietly to his team. That is not a weakness. It is an advantage. Think creatively, adapt, use what is around you. Jaren raised an eyebrow. You really think we can compete with them? Kale smiled faintly. We already are. Watch, learn, and act. Kale guided his team through a series of rapid decisions. They diverted the storm using a combination of weather-controlled drones and environmental manipulation, evacuated civilians efficiently by creating safe routes using terrain data, and even outmaneuvered the raiders by predicting their attacks based on patterns Kale identified in minutes. The other delegations struggled to keep up. Their technology was advanced, but their rigid protocols slowed them. They relied on brute force and calculations, while Kale relied on intuition, creativity, and human teamwork as the simulation progressed. It became clear that Kale's team was not just surviving, they were excelling. The holographic cities stabilized, civilians were saved, and the alien raiders were neutralized with minimal conflict. The delegates were stunned. How could a human team outperform species with centuries of experience and advanced technology? After the simulation ended, a representative from the Vrith delegation approached Kale cautiously. This is impossible. Your team accomplished what should have taken 10 times as many resources and personnel. Kale inclined his head. Humans are adaptable. We think in ways others do not. That is our advantage. The summit continued with more challenges and negotiation simulations, resource management crises, and strategic defense exercises. In each case, Kale demonstrated a combination of intelligence, courage, and ingenuity. He did not rely on technology alone. He relied on observation, improvisation, and human creativity, qualities that the alien delegates had underestimated. By the end of the day, murmurs turned to discussions, and discussions turned to recognition. The humans, once dismissed as weak and inexperienced, were now seen as capable, intelligent, and resourceful. Kale's quiet confidence had shifted the perception of the entire assembly. After the sessions, Leora met Kale in the quiet of the palace gardens. The stars reflected in the artificial lake. The air was scented with exotic flowers from distant planets. You did it, she said softly, pride evident in her voice. They saw what I always knew. Kale shook his head. I only did what humans do naturally. We survive, we adapt, we solve problems. The galaxy will understand eventually. But today was just the first step. Leora took his hand. They will remember you. They will remember us. Kale's expression softened. Let them. But this is only the beginning. There are those who will not accept humans so easily. Some will see us as a threat, not as allies. We must be ready for them too. Meanwhile, in the observation deck above, Queen Maris watched quietly. Her expression was unreadable. She had witnessed Kale's abilities firsthand. She had seen how humans, underestimated for so long, could rise to meet challenges that others deemed impossible. Yet, she also understood the political reality. Not everyone would welcome this display of human strength. There would be those who would attempt to undermine him, to challenge his presence, and to question Leora's judgment. That night, as the palace settled into quiet, Leora and Kale stood on the balcony overlooking the city. Ships moved silently through the sky, reflecting the soft glow of the palace lights. "Do you think they will accept us?" Leora asked, her voice thoughtful. Kale shook his head slightly. "Not all of them. Some never will. But that is not our concern. Our concern is to prove ourselves where it matters to those who are willing to listen and learn. Humans have always been underestimated. That is our advantage. We rise when they do not expect it." Leora nodded, understanding his meaning. "Then we will rise together." The night passed quietly, but far beyond the palace, eyes from distant worlds observed the summit results. Reports of Kale's performance spread quickly, sparking curiosity, fear, and admiration. Humans were no longer a minor species to be ignored. They were a force that could not be underestimated, a species with courage, ingenuity, and resilience. And Kale, the mysterious man who had arrived without warning, was the symbol of that potential. The next day, the summit resumed. Some alien delegations approached Kale cautiously, seeking his counsel on simulations and strategies. Others observed from a distance, wary of his influence. But Kale remained calm, focused on the tasks at hand, never seeking recognition or praise. His purpose was simple: to show the galaxy what humans were capable of, and to protect the princess who trusted him. As Leora watched him, she felt a surge of confidence. The court, the aliens, even the queen herself soon, all would understand that humans were not to be underestimated. Kale had not just survived the test. He had redefined what it meant to be human in the eyes of the galaxy. The summit was only the first challenge. Larger threats loomed on the horizon, forces that sought to control or suppress humanity. But with Kale at her side, Leora felt certain that they could face whatever came next. And so, as the stars twinkled above the palace towers, a new chapter in human history was beginning, a chapter of courage, ingenuity, and the unwavering belief that humans could rise to meet any challenge. Kale had passed the first test. But the greatest challenges were still to come. And when they arrived, humans would show the galaxy that they were a force to be reckoned with, not through power alone, but through intelligence, courage, and the indomitable spirit that had always defined them. The Galactic Summit had changed the perception of humans, but not all eyes were welcoming. While many delegates admired Kale's skill and human ingenuity, others, proud, powerful alien civilizations, felt threatened. They had underestimated humanity for centuries, and now that perception was shifting. Some feared that humans might upset the balance of power. It was during the final session of the summit that a direct challenge arrived. A fleet of dark, angular ships appeared on the palace sensors, belonging to the ruthless Slythery Confederation, a civilization that had long viewed humans as insignificant. Their ships blocked the orbital lanes around Aranthia. Their communications were blunt. "Humans are weak," the Slythery envoy declared over the comm system. "You claim to be capable, yet your species is untested. We demand a demonstration. One of your kind will face our champion. Failure will result in consequences for your entire species." The room erupted in panic. Many delegations feared human retaliation. Aranthia's council debated defensive action, but Queen Maris raised a hand, silencing the arguments. "We will not strike first, but we will not allow threats to go unanswered. Kale will meet this challenge." Leora stepped forward, her eyes shining. "I trust him, Mother. He will succeed. Humans will show the galaxy their strength." Kale's calm expression did not waver. He had anticipated that hostility would arise eventually. "I accept their challenge," he said quietly. "But I will not fight recklessly. Strategy, intelligence, and adaptability will guide my actions." Preparations were swift. The palace arena, a massive structure capable of simulating real-world conditions, was readied. The slight Theri champion, a towering figure named Varnak, arrived. Varnak's reputation was fearsome. He had defeated champions from several star systems. His movements were precise, his strength unparalleled, and his armor nearly impenetrable. Many delegates whispered that Kale was walking into certain death. The arena doors opened. Kale stepped forward, calm, observing his opponent. Varnak's shadow loomed large, and the audience, the aliens, humans, and royalty alike held their breath. The battle began. Varnak struck first, a powerful lunge aimed to overwhelm Kale immediately. But Kale was ready. He sidestepped smoothly, using Varnak's momentum against him. The first strike missed, and Kale countered with a quick, precise movement that forced the champion to stagger. The audience gasped. Varnak struck again and again, each attack more aggressive than the last. Kale did not rely on brute strength to match him. Instead, he observed, predicted, and adapted. He used the environment, the walls, the shifting terrain, and even holographic projections to gain small advantages. Every movement was calculated, combining speed, agility, and intelligence. The aliens watching the battle were stunned. Kale, a human, was not only surviving, but countering a champion who had defeated entire teams of warriors. He moved with precision, creativity, and calm determination. Minutes passed, each more intense than the last. Varnak unleashed a flurry of attacks that would have incapacitated any ordinary human. Kale ducked, rolled, and redirected attacks with minimal effort. He used Varnak's own strength against him, guiding the champion into traps and exploiting every opening. The tide of the battle shifted when Kale activated one of his subtle innovations, a device from his people designed to interact with the arena's energy fields. The floor beneath Varnak shifted slightly, subtly altering balance. The champion stumbled, and Kale seized the opportunity to disable his armor's primary support systems, using precise strikes and human ingenuity. The audience erupted in astonishment. No one had ever seen a human manipulate the battlefield so effectively. Kale's approach was not just about strength. It was about thinking, adapting, and solving problems under extreme pressure. Varnak, frustrated, grew more aggressive. He relied on sheer power, striking with massive blows. Kale continued to evade and counter, never letting fear dictate his actions. Every move highlighted the core of humanity: courage, intelligence, and adaptability. Finally, Kale executed a sequence that combined speed, strategy, and precision. With a well-timed maneuver, he disarmed Varnak and forced the champion to his knees. The arena fell silent, the tension palpable. Varnak's defeat was not through brute force alone. It was through the unique strengths of a human mind and body working in harmony. Kale extended a hand to Varnak, not in mockery, but as a gesture of respect. "You are strong," Kale said, "but strength without strategy is incomplete. Humans endure because we adapt, because we think, and because we refuse to surrender." Varnak hesitated, then accepted the hand. The crowd erupted into applause, not just from humans, but from alien delegates as well. Many who had doubted humanity now had to reconsider. Humans were not weak. Humans were not insignificant. Humans could lead, could inspire, could triumph, where others expected them to fail. Back in the observation gallery, Leora watched with pride, her eyes shining. "You did it," she whispered, her voice filled with awe. "You've shown them who we are." Kale smiled faintly. "It was not for them," he said softly. "It was for humanity. The galaxy will follow soon enough." 8. The Queen approached, her expression thoughtful but approving. "I see now why you are her choice. You are not just a warrior. You are a symbol of human potential. But remember, not all will accept this willingly. Some will resent it." Kale nodded. "I am prepared for that. Humanity has faced opposition before. We survive. We adapt. We thrive." That night, the palace celebrated quietly. Humans and allies alike recognized Kale's victory, while whispers of his deeds spread to alien worlds far beyond Aranthia. Humans were no longer underestimated. They were respected, feared, and admired. Yet Kale and Leora knew this was only the beginning. Greater challenges would arise, forces that sought to dominate, to suppress, or to destroy. But they also knew that humans had something unique: the ability to rise to any challenge, to think beyond limitations, and to achieve the impossible. In the quiet of the balcony overlooking the city, Leora took Kale's hand. "Do you think they will ever fully accept humans?" she asked, her voice gentle. Kale looked out at the stars, the distant ships, and the countless worlds waiting beyond. "Some will never accept us," he said. "But it does not matter. What matters is that we know our worth and we show it through action. Humanity will lead not because others submit, but because we prove we can." Leora smiled, leaning against him. "Then let's face whatever comes next together." The palace lights reflected in the water of the artificial lake below, casting shimmering patterns across the balcony. The city was quiet, but the galaxy beyond was alive with whispers, stories, and curiosity. Humans had shown their potential, and the universe had begun to take notice. Far beyond Aranthia, fleets of alien ships adjusted their courses. Intelligence reports had reached powerful empires, sparking debate, fear, and intrigue. The humans, once considered a minor species, had made their presence undeniable. And at the center of it all was Kale, a man whose courage, intellect, and ingenuity had reshaped perceptions of an entire species. Inside the palace, the queen reflected quietly. She had witnessed human potential firsthand. She had seen the way Kale's calm mind, steady hands, and creative thinking had triumphed over forces that seemed unbeatable. For the first time, she truly understood why her daughter trusted him. Leora watched Kale, her confidence in him unwavering. "They may fear us, but they cannot stop what humans are capable of," she said softly. Kale turned to her, his eyes calm but resolute. "No, they cannot. And as long as we face challenges together, there is nothing we cannot overcome." That night, as the stars stretched across the sky, Aranthia was at peace, but only for a moment. The galaxy was vast, full of both wonders and threats. But humans had proven that they were not to be underestimated. With courage, intelligence, and unity, they could face anything. And Kale, the mysterious man who had appeared without warning, had become the symbol of that truth. The morning sun rose over Aranthia, casting a warm glow on the palace towers. The previous day's events were still fresh in everyone's mind. Word of Kale's triumph over the Slithari champion had spread across the summit and beyond, leaving the galaxy buzzing with amazement. Humans, once underestimated, were now being regarded as capable and extraordinary. Princess Leora stood in the balcony garden, the wind brushing softly through her hair. Kale had spent the night reviewing reports from the summit, analyzing the reactions of alien delegations, and preparing for the challenges that lay ahead. Though the battle was won, both of them knew that this was only the beginning. Leora's mother, Queen Maris, approached quietly. Her steps were soft, yet they carried the weight of authority. She stood beside her daughter, gazing at the distant stars. "You were right about him," she said finally, her voice calm but carrying a note of admiration. "I underestimated him. I underestimated humans." Leora smiled, feeling a sense of relief and pride. "It was never about being underestimated, Mother. It was about showing the galaxy who we are and what we can achieve." The Queen studied Kale, who was nearby, reviewing simulations with the palace engineers. She could see the calm confidence in his posture, the way his mind worked in harmony with his actions. For the first time, she understood why Leora trusted him completely. "You've done more than I expected," the Queen said. "Not only did you succeed, but you've proven that humans have potential we have never fully realized. You've changed perceptions, and in doing so, you've secured the future for your species." Kale looked up, nodding respectfully. "I did not act for recognition," he said. "I acted to show the truth of human potential. The galaxy will see what we are capable of, and now they cannot ignore it." The Queen studied him for a long moment, her expression softening. She had once doubted, worried that Leora's choice would invite unnecessary danger or ridicule, but now she saw clearly. Kale was not only strong and intelligent, but also wise, disciplined, and honorable. He was exactly the partner her daughter had chosen, and exactly the man who could guide humanity forward. Later that day, the final session of the summit began. Delegates from dozens of civilizations were present, their faces a mixture of curiosity, respect, and cautious admiration. Many had sent emissaries to discuss alliances, trade, and strategic cooperation with the humans. Kale and Leora entered together, walking side by side. Their presence commanded attention not because of fear, but because of the undeniable respect they had earned. The room fell silent. Queen Maris rose from her throne, addressing the assembly. "Let this be a day to remember," she said, her voice steady and commanding. "Humans have shown their strength, ingenuity, and courage. They are not a minor species to be overlooked. They are allies, innovators, and protectors. Let us welcome them as equals in our galaxy." Whispers filled the hall. Many delegates nodded in agreement. Some remained skeptical, but even they could not deny the proof they had witnessed. Humans had faced challenges that other civilizations could not overcome, and they had succeeded through intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Leora stepped forward, her hand brushing Kale's briefly. "Humans are capable of greatness," she said, her voice strong and clear. "We are not here to dominate, but to contribute, to protect, to learn, and to grow. And with the galaxy as our partner, we will do what we must to ensure peace and progress for all species." The assembly erupted into applause. Delegates from several civilizations approached Kale personally, shaking his hand, asking questions, and seeking advice. Even the Tyran delegation, once skeptical, expressed respect and interest in forming stronger ties with humans. Kale remained composed, offering guidance with humility and patience. He did not boast, did not seek recognition, but allowed his actions to speak louder than words. His victory over Varnock and his performance in the summit had demonstrated that humans were not weak, not unprepared, and not to be underestimated. That evening, in the quiet of the palace, Leora and Kale walked along the balcony once more. The city below shimmered in lights, ships moved gracefully in the orbital lanes, and the stars stretched endlessly beyond. "Do you ever think about what comes next?" Leora asked softly, her eyes reflecting the stars. Kale shook his head slightly. "I do not worry about what comes next. Humans have faced challenges far greater than this. What matters is that we act with courage, intelligence, and determination. The galaxy will test us again, but we will meet it as we always have together." Leora leaned her head on his shoulder. "I trust you, and I believe in humanity. What we've shown them is only the beginning." Kale smiled faintly, feeling a sense of quiet pride. "And the beginning is all that matters. One step, one choice, one act of courage at a time. That is how humans endure and how we will continue to thrive." Inside the palace, Queen Maris watched from her chambers, reflecting on the transformation that had taken place. She had questioned Kale, doubted his abilities, and feared the consequences of his presence. But now she understood. Not only was he her daughter's chosen partner, but he was also a symbol of the human spirit, intelligent, brave, adaptable, and unyielding. Later that night, the Queen visited Leora and Kale in their private chambers. Her expression was warm but composed. "I have one final question," she said, her eyes studying Kale carefully. "Who is this man?" Leora's lips curved into a soft, confident smile. She turned to her mother, her gaze steady. "My husband," she said simply. Queen Maris studied them both, understanding at last. "And the future of humanity," she added quietly, her voice tinged with awe. "You've shown what humans can achieve, Kale. I see now why my daughter chose you. You are more than a man, you are the hope of your species." Kale bowed his head respectfully. "I only acted as any human would, using our courage, our intelligence, and our determination. The credit belongs to all of humanity, and to the princess who believed in me. Leora squeezed his hand. Together we will continue to show the galaxy what humans are capable of. In the days that followed, humans were celebrated not just in Aranthia, but across several allied civilizations. Diplomatic missions increased, trade agreements flourished, and the human voice began to carry weight in interstellar councils. The species that had once been underestimated was now recognized, respected, and influential. Yet Kale and Leora remained humble. They knew that their journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast, filled with wonders and dangers alike. But they also knew that humans, with their unique combination of courage, intelligence, and adaptability, could face any challenge. The palace lights glimmered softly as night fell, the stars reflecting on the calm waters of the artificial lakes below. Leora and Kale stood on the balcony, hand in hand, looking out into the infinite expanse. Humans have always been underestimated, Kale said quietly. But now we have shown the galaxy who we truly are, and we will continue to rise, no matter what challenges come. Leora nodded, her eyes shining with hope and determination. We've begun a new chapter, Kale. One where humans are not just survivors, but leaders, innovators, and protectors. And we'll write it together. The Queen joined them briefly, her presence serene. I see it now, she said softly. The galaxy will remember this day, the day humans began to show their true potential. Kale and Leora exchanged a glance, a silent promise passing between them. The journey had been long, the challenges great, but the future was bright. Humanity had proven its worth, and the galaxy had taken notice. As the night deepened, the stars above Aranthia seemed to shine brighter than ever before, as if reflecting the courage, determination, and ingenuity of the human spirit. Kale, the mysterious man who had arrived without warning, had become a symbol of hope and potential. Leora, the princess who trusted him completely, had shown that belief in humanity could inspire greatness. Together, they faced the galaxy not with fear, but with strength, intelligence, and unwavering determination. The universe had begun to see humans not as weak or insignificant, but as pioneers, protectors, and leaders. And in that quiet moment, standing on the balcony, looking out at the endless stars, Kale and Leora knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, but humans had proven that no challenge was too great, no obstacle insurmountable, and no destiny beyond their reach.